Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Top 5 Podcast, the most casual podcast on the internet. This week is a very special week because we got my college best friend here with us, Gregory Keener. Say hi to everyone, Greg.
What's going on?
And
Also known as that boy Greggy.
also known as that boy, Greggy. And as always, I am your host, Ron McNerney, and joined me today are my best friends, Zach Blanner,
Yo, what's up, guys?
Colin Harding,
I don't know.
and Matt Bush.
I put the rock in this one.
And Matt, that is a great way to segue into this episode because the reason Greg is here is because he refused to join on any other topic besides top 5 Overwatch heroes. And this week, Matt, you're going to kick us off with your number 5 pick.
For my number 5, I had Ana.
On.
There's a
Whoa.
common trend in my heroes. Most of them are support heroes because that's what I play in Overwatch. I usually play support. And Ana made my list because I think she's like she's one of the more fun support characters to play in my opinion. Her kit is super unique and diverse. For those of you who may not be familiar with Overwatch, she is a sniper that also heals with her bullets. So you can deal damage to the enemies, but also you shoot your allies to heal them. And she has a sleep dart that is very hard to hit for unskilled players, but is probably the most satisfying thing to do in the game once you master it. And she has a grenade that heals your allies and gives them the ability to be healed faster, and then blocks healing for your enemies. So there's a lot of very unique things that you can do with Ana's kit that make her super fun. She didn't make it super high on my list because while I do enjoy playing her, I am not very good with Ana. So I really only play her if we're like having fun / messing around. Not really if we're trying to play a serious game. I have other heroes that I pick, not Ana. So that's why she didn't make it like any higher.
Yeah, and you sure as hell know how to sleep dart me in pregame lobbies.
I've practiced my sleeps a little bit.
You have. Greg's, I mean, pretty much everyone, I think, now in pregame lobbies, we pretty much just choose on.
Yeah, everyone
Try to
likes
get,
everyone likes playing Ana.
try
I
to get a
think,
nice sleep dart.
for the most part.
It's the best part of waiting for a game.
I'm sure Colin's gonna bring this up. I'm not super into the Overwatch lore. I don't really know Ana's deal. I couldn't explain it to you. Some of my heroes later I can explain, but not Ana's.
Matt, you
So
want to
that
know?
wasn't really a factor.
Matt, you want to know a fun fact about the time that we've all spent on Overwatch?
I love fun facts.
Here's the most fun fact ever. Greg has passed up 3 people in terms of game time played.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Greg has probably like 50 levels on me. Probably more than
I-
that.
I'm
I
in
just hit
360.
I just hit silvers with 1 star.
So, yeah, Greg.
Jesus Christ.
Greg, was it yesterday we went
And
over?
Greg makes sure
days
we
ago,
know it,
hours.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he makes sure.
What was
we-
that, Ron?
I said, was it yesterday or 2 days ago that we were going over our hours?
I think it was
Spent-
yesterday, and I'm pretty sure all the hours that you have logged for just in general, I think I have it beat on just competitive.
Yeah. And also, it's important to know that Greg started playing this game, I believe, in December. So no, I don't
After
even think
Christmas.
I don't even think a full 6 months. Like a little bit after Christmas, I think.
Yeah, it was right after Christmas.
Yeah. It's impressive. But, Greg, you've spent so much time playing Overwatch. We know you have a solid top 5 ranking, I think, at this point. So what's your number 5?
I'm gonna be honest, this was tough. And especially because I pretty much only play damage. I had 4 in my top 5 as damage, but I felt that would be unfair. So my number 5, I'm just gonna choose Roadhog.
Mm.
Okay.
And so Roadhog, I feel like, is just the most fun to play out of all the tanks. Just because
100%.
you can just hook somebody from, 20, 30 meters away and just
20.
one-shot them. 20? Yeah, 20 meters away, one-shot them, and then just keep moving. Heal yourself back to half health or full health. And he just is like one of the most overpowered characters if you can play them well.
Greg, I have to say I'm a little disappointed in you
Why is that?
because every time I explain abilities to you, I say things like if Roadhog can hook them, then you can hit them. And we always go into practice range and I show you 20 meters and we go over it. So I'm upset that you didn't know that.
You didn't do your homework, Greg, is what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
on,
I'm saying
Greg.
you're not studying.
Come
I didn't
on.
know my job on that one. That's my bad.
Yeah, you should know your job.
But yeah, so that's my number 5.
Fun fact, whenever Roadhog first came out, whenever you went to go heal, you couldn't move.
Really?
I do
Yeah.
remember that now, actually. now that you say
Yeah,
that.
whenever you went to go heal, you couldn't move at all, so you had to like strategically think about where you were going instead of just randomly running out and then going, "Oh, that was a mistake," and then healing up and walking away like it was nothing.
Kind of wild.
That was back in the before times then.
That was the before 4 times.
Greg, you would
guys
have
remember when
loved
Bastion had a
Roadhog at
shield?
the start.
Whenever
game.
Bastion had a shield, that was an interesting thing.
Greg, if you-
Roadhog is just
yeah.
so good, but everybody else has like some ability or something that's just like so needed in the game that Roadhog kind of gets pushed to the side. Like Diva with
No, for
her
sure.
defense matrix and like all those crowd control abilities is just unfortunate that
Yeah, I don't
Hog
know if
doesn't get as
Roadhog's
much
received
play.
any like meaningful buffs.
He hasn't in a while.
I
I mean,
Like
his
some,
magazine size continually went up
Yeah.
because like what it at one point it was 6 and now it's 5, right? 5.
I think so. I haven't played Road in a while because I've only been playing Rhine for the most part. But Greg, you would have loved Roadhog back when we like pretty much first played because he was so busted.
Back whenever it was Ron Hog.
When it was Ron Hog, dude.
Well-
he was
Ron
so
Hog.
busted with the hooks, everything, just one-shotted pretty much everything.
The
was just
problem
nuts.
was he used to like so you could like rotate and it would pull right in front of him.
Yeah.
So they kind of changed that because it used to be like you could just keep moving even while they're in front of you and move them a little bit more. Now like you have to like drastically rotate to do it. And then they have to be in line of sight before being pulled. If they're out of line of sight, then they can't be pulled. So what used to happen before is you could hook like Mercy by her like, you know, the back of her foot before she went around the corner, and then by the time she got around the corner, she would be yanked back all the way to you.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. Greg, I used to just hook people off the map all the time because you could just spin fast enough. So my sensitivity for Roadhog would be busted because then as soon as I hook, I'd spin, throw him right off the map.
And then I think there was also an issue with like the way hooked work. The way hook worked was like it was like a hit scan, even though it was a projectile. Like on your screen, it looked like a projectile, but it was actually hit scan, so it would register if you hit them. And then all of a sudden, you just see this hook like shoot around a corner and grab somebody, and then pull them all the way back.
Yeah, dude, it was so busted. I
Yeah,
love
it was a mess.
Kind of messy.
But I think they like late 2017 was whenever they could move, whenever you could move with take a breather, which is his healing ability. So like there was a whole year where you couldn't move with Roadhog, and that's about the time that they actually started like the real seasons too.
I don't even think we played back then.
I definitely.
Oh, me and
did.
Matt did. Me and Matt were having a blast.
Late 2017. I think we did.
We played. I mean, we played.
That would have been
What you
like
call
our
it?
Christmas break
Beta.
for freshman year. We definitely played.
Yeah, we played beta, and then we played like a little bit. I shouldn't say a little bit. We played quite a bit through 2016, and then like probably the end of 2017 is whenever everything started to pick up. Because the moment that he was able to move while take a breather was active, like that changed like the whole thing. Hog was super overpowered for a while.
Well, Matt, to kind of go off with your trend of healers, because I also love playing some healers as well. My number 5 pick is Moira.
Moira.
Pretty much, because you can, if you're good enough as her, you can get that ult so fast and be able to
Not
decimate.
anymore.
Not
Yeah,
anymore, but
not anymore.
even so, you can still get it pretty quick.
Well, I think what they're doing with the new one, uh, and I think Sty kind of went over this a little bit, was I think they're trying to keep Moira from getting her ult super quick because she used to get it like the neutral fight at the beginning. Let's just say you're playing control. Moira could get her ult extremely quickly because
Yeah.
she can heal a bunch of people, throw out a damage orb as she's walking in, and with the 8 second buff from 10 seconds with biotic orb, like you get to throw that 2 times in a fight technically because fights are technically like 10 to 15 seconds. So now you can throw it 2 times instead of 1 time. So being able to just like start running in and throw a damage orb and then start healing in the neutral fight, like it's huge. So what they tried to do, I think, was slow it down the first time and then in a way like after the first time make it slightly faster to make up for it, if that makes sense.
No, right. Well, I know whenever they decrease the time for her orbs, that is what made me, I think, play her a bit more because I could just throw out healing orbs so consistently and just be able to heal the team. Whenever I would be able to play healing, of course, because there's
Yeah.
only like 2 healers I really play. Um, but I don't know. She's really fun to play. It's nice. Her like wraith ability. I don't know what it's called, but her get out of there ability is super
Fade.
nice.
Oh,
Get out of dodge.
Yeah.
Fade.
Yeah, her fade ability is super nice. Just to kind of get out of those fights really quick. But I mean, she does like a decent amount of damage, like for a healer. I mean, you should obviously focus more on healing, but you can hit a Pharah and an Echo with some of your shots, so it's nice to
Oh yeah.
give some support if they're like really weak or something.
Something that I found out recently, just because I don't play a lot of Moira, um, was Jane was going over some Moira tech, and he talked about the ultimate has the same distance as Biotic Grasp,
Mm-hmm.
right? No, not Biotic Grasp. Is it technically Biotic Grasp? I think it's the same ability, just two different. Okay, we'll just say Biotic Grasp. Anyways, Biotic Grasp um, has the same distance as Coalescence. But the cool thing with Coalescence is it has the same ability as Biotic Grasp. So even though it looks like it's this funnel in front of you, or well, this is never mind. I interpreted it the wrong way in my brain just now. Biotic Grasp has the same distance as or width, like the girth, the big girth on it, as Coalescence. So if you use Coalescence and you see that massive circle that it creates, that is the same radius that Biotic Grasp can grab onto people. Does that make
Interesting.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that, if you want to like imagine it while you're trying to kill people as if you just had Coalescence activated, and that'll help you like hit your target more.
Interesting. But to move on to our next top 5, Zach, I want to hear what's on your list, bud.
My number 5 is Widowmaker.
Interesting.
So if you know anything about me when it comes to video games, I usually have two approaches that I prefer. I either want to be very quiet and stealthy, or I want to be very far away, picking people off. That being said, I'm not good at Widowmaker, except for the one at like 1 or 2 weeks that the Overwatch gods just decided to just give me all the crack with Widow. But no, I just like the role that she plays on the team. I wish I could play her as well as I would need to. But yeah, I think she's really cool. I like how her gun goes from a sniper rifle to an SMG. She's very if you have a really good Widow, it's never a bad call. But yeah, and then
not.
you can just make like stupid great plays with her just by getting like one good pick on a healer or a DPS. So yeah, big fan of Widowmaker.
Widow's definitely one of those characters where like, let's say whoever does it, whoever gets the first pick, Widow can shut down the fight extremely fast because like the moment that you get a pick and you start winning that fight, she just starts picking everybody off, and like the fight just completely shuts down after that. But you have to hit your
Yeah.
headshots in order to do it.
Right.
Um, I don't know if I have any fun patch notes about Widow.
It's been good and bad over the
I'm
course
actually
of
very surprised to
Overwatch.
hear that, Zach.
Why?
Just I never really ever see you play Widow.
Yeah, because I'm not good at her.
Yeah.
I wish you could see. I'm telling you, I wish you could have saw that like 2 week span of time that like I just nobody could touch me.
Was that on
I
console or
don't
was
know
that
what
on
happened.
PC?
I was on console. I think
Okay. You
something I've
tried on
noticed like
PC for a
whenever,
bit.
yeah, something I noticed whenever I was bouncing back from console and PC. I feel like whenever I go from PC and come back to console, I feel like my aim gets better. I don't know
No,
why
I
or how
agree.
that correlates,
You've
but
just learned to be more precise on PC.
yeah,
I think my biggest issue with bouncing back and forth from PC to console is PC, the left hand and the right hand do different things from what they do on controllers. So like a lot of the time I will press like a button on my mouse, which is now at this point I've just mapped it. But like whenever I want to throw Fire Strike as Reinhardt, I want to use my right hand if I've been playing a lot more console. Meanwhile, I need to use my left hand to press E. So like I've just mapped it onto one of my buttons on my mouse that way I can use my right hand because there's so many times where I just mash a button and I'm like, why didn't Fire Strike go off? And I'm like, oh, that's right, my right hand doesn't do that anymore.
yeah. For me on PC, I usually try to keep like my any movement or movement abilities on my left hand, and then anything else on my right if I can.
I don't think I think the only interesting thing with Widow is the um health decrease. I mean, that was pretty huge, but that also
Yeah,
came at the
she.
cost of everybody else getting a health increase and damage reworks. But
Yeah, she really hasn't changed a whole lot since the beginning.
oh, you know what a big one was? What
Did she get a useful ult?
early 2019? Whenever you use Infrasight, Infrasight's now canceled on death. That was the big one.
Mm,
Her
Right,
ult,
right.
she has a good ult, but it's only like good for her.
It's
Basically.
just really situational.
I mean,
It's
if you
one of
have like
those.
Hanzo or like an Ashe, it can be good for them as well.
It's one of those things where like her ult is more for coming back into a fight, so that way you can get information on what the team's doing as you're heading up to the fight, or if you're defending as they're heading back to you. Typically, it's weird. It kind of makes more sense on the attack to have a Widow because you can see where the defending team is set up and make your plans around that. But she's just not always fantastic on attacks, and she always has to reposition.
Right. Because she's dummy weak.
Yeah.
Colin, I want to hear what your number 5 is.
So, my famous Proeem.
Proeem.
These are not, the best characters right now. These aren't like necessarily the best characters that ever were or anything. These are just characters that are fun to play. So my number 5 would start with Baptiste. I think Baptiste, although Immortality Field is too broken, and the problem with it is they tested out Immortality Field giving everybody resistance with the April Fool's patch, and it just felt like it was pointless to use because you just go right through it. So I think personally, Immortality Field should change to maybe almost like a Zarya bubble, except instead of 2 seconds, it's 3 seconds, and you just throw it onto somebody, and it like attaches to them like a Zenyatta orb, and they can't die
For like a certain amount
for
of
the
time.
3 seconds. Yeah, and you can't destroy it. It's just 3 seconds. That way, because
Right.
technically it lasts for what 5.5 seconds, because the field, like as it's destroying itself, will also still cast.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 5.5 seconds of pure immortality, which is insane. And even if not, that's 150 health and 150 damage that it took away from your team. So, um, I think if you could cast it on one person and it only lasts 3 seconds, and instead of 10% HP, it would last for, or it would go down to, say, 25% HP because you're only putting it on one person, and then move the cooldown like a little bit. I don't know,
Isn't the
you know,
cooldown like 30 seconds? Is that what it is?
25 seconds. It's
25
basically
seconds.
an ultimate.
Yeah.
Um, maybe like make it like 15 seconds, probably like closer to a res than a ultimate. Um, but other than that, like his kit is awesome. He has regenerative burst, which is more or less used for healing himself. It's just like this burst heal that he like puffs out a cloud of heal from himself. Being able to, and this is kind of like the strat with him that like just takes some time to learn, which is you can actually fire a healing grenade and then fire 2 shots from his rifle before the next healing grenade can go off, because there's a cooldown on the healing grenade, which is like it's it's zero point 0.9, I'm pretty sure. So your shots only take 0.58 seconds. So you can technically fire off 2 shots because you get 1 shot at 0, another shot at 0.58, and then bam, biotic launcher's probably ready by then. So that's a big strat to like really get your score up per 10 minutes. Exo boots, which I like because it feels like they're finally doing things with mobility now, because Lucio for the longest time was the only one with mobility. So now Exo boots, you can jump up 9 meters, which for him it kind of matters because he has to hit people with the healing grenades. But it's one of those things where I think more people need different mobility things instead
Right.
of just you either fly or you fade. Like that's kind of where we're at right now. And it's like those aren't really mobility, they're defense, or in the case of Pharah, the only purpose. Um
Sometimes
but
offensive.
I think his kit is fantastic. I really enjoy his theme, his amplification matrix, which is his alt. I mean, if you're doing things like what the pros do, which I love watching, you just need a lot of coordination for it, which is like you have Reinhardt start to throw Fire Strike, and then you throw down the amplification matrix in front of it, and it does 200 damage and basically just kills any squishy in front of it. Um, and it's
Yeah, it's
not the
crazy.
hardest thing to get, and the fact of the matter is like amplification matrix, like sure you can throw it in front of your team, but honestly like the best way that I've seen it used is either with Reinhardt Fire Strike to just take out 3 people and with one Fire Strike, which happens all the time in the pros right now, or you just throw it on yourself as soon as one of your guys goes down, you throw it on yourself and you either heal or you damage. And most of the time I end up just damaging, because if you're what if you're dealing like 120ish, right? No, like 140. You're dealing about like 140 damage per second without it. So now you're dealing 280 damage per second with it. So you can with 2 shots you take out any squishies, and it changes the fight instantly. That was a lot, I know.
No, you're good. You're good. You know, as if you can't tell, Colin knows his Overwatch. So
Yeah.
yeah, Matthew, I want to hear where your number 4 is.
For my number 4 pick, I had Moira.
Ooh, let's
So
go,
yeah,
Matt.
from here on out, these my next 4 picks were heroes that I either currently play extensively or have extensively played in our competitive sessions in the past. And Moira right now is sort of my secondary or my off healer when my main is either not getting the job done, getting countered, or is already picked on the team.
Right.
And yeah, I really like the play patterns of Moira. Her kit is super fun. her primary fire is like this almost like force lightning beam of like energy that like
Mhm.
sucks the
Yeah.
soul out of your opponent,
You can
which is
kill
pretty fun.
Farah for shits and giggles.
Yeah, her wraith, I forget
Fade.
her fade is super useful if you're getting dove by like divas or Winstons and whatnot, which is why I usually pick her if I'm getting dove a lot. I'll switch to her to try and fade out of some situations. And her orbs are super fun to play with. The damage orb, just get random free kills and build ult for free. And her healing orb can just always keep the team alive whenever you need to. And then her ult's just super fun. She just Kamehamehas all over the screen.
So I think it was Jane. I think Jane had a good funny saying, and he was like, Moira does two things. She either damages or heals. And then he was like, wait. She does three things. She damages, or she heals, or she does both at the same time.
Yeah, she just gets to do everything.
So I kind of like, I've been talking to Greg about this, and periodically whoever wants to listen to me whenever I say it. I think Mercy has had a lot of the, oh, Mercy's like, if you're just starting to play the game, play Mercy and learn Mercy. She's easy. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think back whenever Rez revived 6 people,
Crazy.
or could
You
revive
always
5 people.
You always had the trump card.
Yeah. Whenever you could just go, boom, everybody's back after everybody died and there's 2 people left. Like, Mercy was definitely an easy character. I mean, that's how Chad, he was like, yeah, I just jumped on Mercy and would just sit back and wait for the res and just learned how to res at the right time, and he climbed to masters just by doing that. I'm sure, I'm not taking all the credit away from him. I'm sure he did quite a bit, but that's kind of what he said. And I don't think he's too wrong. I mean, almost everybody hated Rez. Even most Mercy players started to get tired of it because the ability was too overpowered. Like,
She was
your
also
whole
like
team drops and you revive them.
She had Invo, right? Like mid res, like you couldn't
Yeah,
actually
like
stop it.
Yeah.
there was a very small point in time that you could damage her during res. So like the moment that she turned like all golden was whenever you couldn't do it, but you had like 0.5 seconds during the casting time to actually kill her, which almost didn't happen. But now, like, after going through Mercy again, her damage amplification, if you're not doing burst damage, and this is just like basic stuff, this isn't with a bunch of abilities or something, the only person worth consistently damage amping is Roadhog. And he deals 1 damage less per second than Mercy would if she just swapped her gun. So realistically, for those of you out there that play Overwatch, play Mercy as another damage character unless people need healed, because unless Hanzo's using Storm Arrow, or you have a Bastion's definitely worth it too, but I think that was pretty obvious. Or you have Zenyatta releasing his charge shot, or like Echo with her beam and orbs all at the same time. That might be worth it. But realistically, you should either heal or just shoot at the target that somebody else is shooting at instead of damage amping them, because you deal significantly more damage per second if you would just shoot them than damage amping them. So now I think Moira should be the, hey, you're new to Overwatch and you want to play support? Well, this character damages or heals and has a lot of sustain because she heals 35 health per second or 2 seconds while she damages things. So you kind of don't die if you're new.
No, definitely.
And you can use your own health orb too for yourself.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, like, she's the highest sustain character for support. So like if you are new, you can save yourself from all kinds of situations and then fade out whenever you really fuck up.
Yeah, definitely. Matt, anything else to say about Moira?
Not particularly, no.
All right. Greggy, what's your number 4, buddy?
This was tough, but I'm gonna have to go with McCree.
Ooh. McCree that
I
low for
like,
you, really?
yeah. Well, I mean, I play McCree probably the most out of all the heroes, but I don't know. He's fun to play, but like, he's not the most fun. And I think it's just kind of annoying, especially whenever you're just playing McCree to stop like a tracer or a ball, or literally just only to use your stun. Because the ultimate really isn't that great. And if you're missing your shots, then you're just not having a good time.
I think the big problem is for some reason, and I shouldn't say for some reason because I always complain about it. Everybody in like Diamond and below have like the shittiest awareness and the worst game sense. So McCree always goes on a flank, always goes to high ground, and always pops his ult behind or like in some crazy position in front where it's not really effective to block him. But I think McCree is like Sigma. He was like the pre-Sigma. Like you go into overtime, you have a McCree ult, you probably win overtime because they either stay on point and a ton of damage comes their way, or they have to get off of point for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
one of the things that'd be annoying with like McCree, Greg, is like if you miss that flash somehow, then you just kind of screwed yourself too, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
and
pretty
like
much just
I
done
know
for.
you're supposed to throw it at the ground, but I mean sometimes you just react and just throw it and it goes 5 meters past the person right in front of you, and then
Right.
you're just dead.
It
You're like, no.
definitely like it's almost like today, whenever we were playing, I was playing Ana and I threw the grenade literally I don't even know how it happened. It was the most fine thing that could have happened. It like went under Diva's armpit and then past Reinhardt's arm. And I was like, how did I miss the two biggest targets that were a meter away from me? And it literally like looked like it just faded right through them. And it's because that hitbox is so tiny. And I think that's the same thing with McCree's flashbang is it's so tiny that if you're not on them, it looks like it just fades through them and goes 5 meters too far.
No,
Yeah.
definitely.
But with Greg's McCree, and this is what I've been discussing with Greg, is if he just died like 3 to 2 times less every 10 minutes, he could take off with McCree. And that's what we've been discussing is now we're focusing on not dying as much. And he doesn't have to do that. Like dying 3 less times isn't huge. Um and like lately he's been doing a pretty decent job at it. And he's only, 4 eliminations per 10 minutes behind people, and that's because he dies 3 to 2 times more. Not times as in multiplicative, but like additive. Um,
Yeah, Greg, get good.
Otherwise, Greg could definitely like quickly climb out of gold right now.
No, the problem is I'm just like too icy with it. So I just have to
Right.
die, otherwise the other team rage quits, and it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
Definitely it.
yeah.
You
I've
don't
always
want to. You don't
found
want to get to
McCree to
plat
be
off of like game
Yeah,
backouts
I
on the
don't
other team.
I don't want
No.
to get to plat because the character's broken, Ron?
No,
I
I
mean, I think
understand.
McCree has like your second highest win rate.
Yeah, it's like 60%.
Yeah, because I think Tracer's at 60 like 2%, and McCree's at like almost 60%, and then you
Doom,
have like
at
Doomfist at
Doomfist.
like 60.
Yeah. I have like probably close to 20, but probably like 30 or 40 on the others.
Yeah.
But also, the reason McCree's so low is just he's so slow.
Yeah.
No,
Like
that's fair.
he's not a mobile character.
Yeah, he's an old man, Greg.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
Been
is an
smoking
old
too
man
many
now.
cigars.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Well,
he
what?
is old in the O2 whenever that drops.
Oh yeah, he'll be like 40 something because right now he's almost 40. I don't remember his exact age, but I know he's almost 40. But like after that, he should be like gray hair, so he'll probably be like close to 50.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any fun facts about McCree. Um,
It's done roll
oh,
sheep.
you know what? Deadeye. I don't know. This is a good one. I don't know if this is like a fun. fun fact, but Deadeye used to only shoot at 70 meters, which it sounds like a lot, but now it's been increased to 200 meters as of like, I don't know, a few years ago. And
Because why
like,
not?
you're sitting there going 70 meters versus 200. That's a huge climb. Like, holy crap. Like, he can shoot so much farther. But 70 meters is like, for those of you that play, from the defense point on Havana all the way to spawn. Like,
Yeah.
even more than that, really. That's probably like 50 meters. So you're never going above 70 meters. They just said 200 meters for those stupid little situations where somebody's floating at 71, like Farah. She's like really far out and really high up.
Yeah, it definitely helps his Deadeye be better. I mean, within 200 meters, you are able to get behind a wall and stuff too. So it's not like
Yeah,
you're
I
invincible or
genuinely
anything.
don't think there's any sight lines on any map that are under 100 meters.
Yeah, no, I would be
Or over
shocked.
100 meters, I should
Yeah,
say. But I think it's like the only thing that I can think of that's like, I mean, he's had a lot of big changes, but they're not like crazy changes like that. They're just like, oh, like the recent one, his reload was increased by 300 milliseconds, which I'm not. It doesn't. They say, oh, it'll stop his fan the hammer from feeling so oppressive, but I did the math. I have all the charts. It really doesn't. His fan the hammer is still way too oppressive. Like they need to. I don't know. They need to do something about it.
yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about McCree a bit more. Cough, cough. My list later. But to move on to my number 4, it is also going on the healer trend still. It is Lucio. Only mostly because, as I said, more is just a lot of fun to play. Lucio, I think, is just way better, just in terms of just having fun and just vibing on Overwatch and just leaping on every building and just trying to get as many boops as possible. Um, I don't know. He's just, I think he's a decent healer. I mean, obviously not the best, but if you could just stay alive with him, you're gonna do a lot of healing if you're just using your kit properly. I think, not as much as a Moira or Ana, but still. Um, and he does good damage for what he has too.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. He's
so it can definitely help you out of a lot of situations. So yeah,
the way you should really play Lucio is front line almost. Like you're just behind the front line. You're not sitting back on high
that's what I
ground.
usually do. Yeah,
Like you're up there with Reinhardt. You're up there with Sigma, and you're just fighting it out because he does a 4 round burst at 20 damage per shot. So that's 80 damage over the 4 rounds. And if you hit headshots, that's 160 damage. Like you get to clean up. So he does do quite a bit of damage. And if you're running up to people, especially, and this is like why he was so meta for so long, is he's the only person in the game that can change the movement speed of everybody on the team. And you pick off one person, you got a Reinhardt on your team, you go Rein, I got speed, and then you use amplify and just, or well, I guess it's crossfade. I wouldn't call it amplify. Yeah, it's crossfade. Use crossfade, and now all of a sudden everybody gets a 25% buff on their speed, and Reinhardt charges into the other team, not necessarily actually charging, but like just walks forward into the other
mm-hmm.
team. They're not running away.
No, it goes really quick. Um, but Lucio is my number 4. So Zach, we're gonna bring it to you for your number 4.
My number 4 is Tracer.
T Racer.
Tracer.
Yeah,
T
dude.
Racer.
Tracer from the game.
I love Tracer. I really wasn't any good with her until I got good with Genji for that period of time. Um, but yeah, she's just such a fun character to play. If you know how to use like her kit and like when to dash and when not to dash and all that, and when's the best time to rewind, and you can really terrorize an entire team as a Tracer, as I know we've all experienced multiple times.
Back when Matt used
Yeah.
to be God tier Tracer.
Yeah. Yeah, but she's just a really fun character to play, and she can definitely be a game-winning character, if the other team can't deal with her, and you have someone who knows what they're doing with her.
Yeah. The
Way back, it
longer
wasn't even like if the enemy team could deal with her, there really wasn't any characters to deal with her.
Yeah, well, it was Tracer and Lucio defined the whole meta because they were just so freaking fast. Like you just played around Tracer and Lucio.
Yeah,
And
honestly.
dive comp was just the best comp period
Yeah,
ever. I missed
but
dive
I
comp.
think I think the biggest testament to how well Tracer's balanced, which is why so many people hate Tracer, is she has only had 4 patches, and 3 of them were like very slight nerfs. She had one that decreased her pulse bomb damage, which is a sticky grenade, from 400 damage to 300 damage, and then they upped it to 350. So it's still a nerf. It's not necessarily back to what it was. And then recently, her damage fall off went from 13 to 10 meters, which isn't huge because it's when it starts, so you have a bigger time, or a slightly smaller time for when it starts. Um, and then one nerf, or not one nerf, one buff, which was they kind of just made it so that way Tracer would blink where your crosshair was pointing or where your controller slash whatever was pointing.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why people hate her. Like Seagull still claims that they need to remove Tracer from the game. Um, a lot of pros think Tracer needs to be removed from the game because if some playstyle isn't heavy meta, Tracer just runs rampant because the longer you don't deal with a Tracer, the significantly more damage she does. So during a fight, if we're still going off at like the 10 to 15 seconds, like you can deal almost 2,500 damage in 10 seconds with Tracer, and it just keeps ramping up from there. So Tracer's one of those things where, like, if you take care of her quick, she's not a problem. If you don't take care of her, she's gonna really deal a lot of damage on your team.
Yeah, definitely she gets a good pulse bomb off then.
Oh
Pretty
yeah,
much just done so. Yeah.
Pulse Bomb is one of those things that has a very deceptive range.
Oh, it's like one of the most disrespectful things when you get stuck with that thing.
Oh yeah,
It's very frustrating. It's probably the hardest ult to use in the game too. So like I can
Yeah.
never get too upset.
No, for sure. I mean, it
it's
sucks like
super
if
quick.
you're stuck on main tank, then you have like your, squishies right next to you, then they're just done so as soon as that goes
I
off.
think the only thing that would make that makes it harder is the only thing that would be harder is deflecting an ult with Genji.
Yeah,
Like a May
that's
thing.
like
It's not
that's
even.
almost luck.
Yeah, I mean, you just have
Yeah,
to
it
like
really
pay
is.
attention to like it's more like predicting. Like it's not necessarily harder because like if you press deflect and like you predicted it, like bam, you got it. It's just you got to predict it.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Whereas like
And you also have to wait for that opportunity because not everybody plays things that you can necessarily deflect.
yeah.
So I think Tracer's pulse bomb, 5 seconds ish of shooting. Like let's say you just shoot at Roadhog for 5 seconds, you have a pulse bomb. You're welcome for anybody who didn't know that.
Yeah, you get it really, really quick.
Yeah.
Colin, let me hear what your number 4 is.
My number 4 is probably like the highest skill ceiling support in the game, which is
Mhm.
gonna be Ana.
I'm surprised that low, to be
Um,
honest.
Ana is like there are like right now Baptiste, he's just broken. Immortality Field is broken, but if they figure out a way to balance it, or if they nerf it just too much, kind of like a few other abilities in the game, um, he's still not the best because his kit isn't fantastic. Like it is great. It's probably the second best one. But Ana's kit, like the potential of what you can do with Ana's kit is significantly higher than all the other supports. Um, because you can shut people down with a CC. You can deal a ton of damage. I mean, you can kill Pharah in 1.8 seconds. No, 2.4 seconds. You can kill Ana in 2.4 seconds. Or Ana, Farah in 2.4 seconds. Really, it's a little bit less because once you hit that shot, you just walk away. You pretend like nothing's there anymore. Um, you do a ton of like she has the highest healing potential without using abilities. So she does the most healing. She has the potential to shut anybody down. Um, she also has the ability to throw a grenade on your team and get an extra 50% healing on your team, or stop the other team from being healed. And if you do what a lot of people should do, if you don't know this, the easiest way to start hitting anti-nades whenever they're effective is wait for your Reinhardt and the other Reinhardt to start battling and just throw the grenade at your Reinhardt. Because your Reinhardt will get 100 health, so that way if he's losing, he'll probably win. The Reinhardt can't heal while they're fighting. Bam, you got a free kill. And if your Reinhardt's really losing, you can heal him faster because you get 50% more heals. So now you're getting 105 heals on him now, which 105 heals per zero point 0.8 seconds, 0.6 seconds ish. That's a lot. That's a lot of heals. And then you got Nano Boost, which the way I use Nano Boost is shit. Somebody went in or like, let's get aggressive, let's get reckless. And then whenever somebody really gets reckless, I just Nano Boost them and it just changes up the whole fight.
Yeah, because that health increase is massive.
Yeah. I mean, you get 250 healing.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like as soon as you get it, it heals 250 health. It's like whenever you lose health, you get healed.
Yeah.
And then you get a 50% damage reduction, which is insane. So you just turn the tides of fights. So instead of using it necessarily as an engagement tool, you should use it as like an oh shit button. Because
Right.
it changes the whole fight. Or you see somebody and you go, oh, we're really winning right now. We just killed 2 people. Let's clean up real quick. Bam. You just pop that, they go in and just destroy. Her skill ceiling is extremely high because her potential is so high. Everybody else just doesn't have that kind of ability.
Matt, I want to hear what your number 3 is, buddy.
Number 3,
Mm-hmm.
like mine.
Like
No.
your number 3.
Predict Greg's.
I don't want yours. I want yours.
You want mine? Okay. My number 3, I had Winston, aka Winnie the Bish.
Nice. Gotta have Winnie the Fish, dude.
Winston is one of my mains from yesteryear. Way back when we played a lot,
Mm-hmm.
probably like 2016, 2017. Winston was, if not the best tank, definitely top 3, probably second, if I'm remembering correctly. So I played a lot of Winston in that time frame because he was very strong. The ability to dive in, get that splash damage, disrupt the enemy team's comp, and if you could take out a Mercy as Winston and then jump away, it was GG's for that
It's
fight,
huge.
basically.
Yeah. Especially back
the
during
rest
the
of-
6.
Yeah, the rest of your team could wrap it up pretty quickly. His shield was also very useful for holding down points. If your team could like maneuver in and out of it, you could like bob and weave through enemy fire, and it was just very useful overall.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have the best gun, but all you have to do is hold the trigger. It's
Yeah.
pretty free
kinda
and
just figure it out,
self-explanatory. Yeah.
Do
I mean,
that.
Winston's... No, go ahead.
I also like Winston in like the lore part of the game too. Like he's sort of the last person who like cares about reviving the Overwatch
Mhm.
Yeah.
and doing stuff like that. I think it's really cool, and he's just a big monkey.
He's a
Big
big
monkey.
monkey.
I have a Winston plushie that Zach gave me a while ago, sitting in my room.
I think the cool thing about Winston is his ability to cleave, which not too many heroes in the game has. So like you only have Reinhardt, Brigitte, Winston. That's about it. That's like, yeah.
What do you mean
that's
by
it.
cleave?
So cleave is like you can hit 2 people at once, or 3 people at once, or 4 people at once.
Oh, gotcha,
So
gotcha.
it's not necessarily like a shotgun, how like the pellets could hit that person. It's more like you're dealing the same amount of damage to multiple people at the same time.
Yeah, no, you are hitting those people.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
That makes
So
sense.
his ability to cleave if you're like in front of two people, and that's like the best way to use Winston, right? Is you jump in and you either single somebody out, and if you can't and you're trying to just brawl, try to get groups of people because you're going to charge up significantly faster. And two, it makes it puts stress on their healers, on their support players, because now two people are losing health at the same time.
Matt, with that being your number 3 pick, I do want to hear what Greg's number 3 pick is.
So I think Colin and Matt were the ones that said this earlier, but my number 3 is going to be Ana. And this is the only support that I have on the top 5, but
Okay.
Ana and Moira are very close in like how much I like to play them as support.
Mm-hmm.
But Ana with just the ability to sleep and then teabag, shoot, grenade, shoot, and just really piss off the other person on the other team. That's just the best feeling in the world. So Ana gets the solid number 3 right there, just for that reason
just
alone.
For the trolls.
Just for
Off
messing
the
around.
envoy.
No, I honestly can respect that more than anything.
The famous Ana combo, for those of you listening who play, you want to sleep dart, biotic shot, grenade, melee, and then usually by then you could quick scope and biotic shot. And just with the sleep dart, biotic shot, grenade, melee, you can kill a tracer. Then if you get that quick scope in and you kill that person, because now you're dealing another 70 damage, you kill almost all the squishies in the game. For those of you that play.
It's bussin', tell you what.
It is. It's huge. It's a huge
On
turnaround
God
if you're
run?
skilled.
Oh god, dude. No shot. Yeah, Greg, I like you've been playing how you've been playing like more Ana and then always sleeping me in pregame lobbies. It's always a blast. I forget if it was you or Aaron that slept me in the air as Farah. I was like, god damn.
Oh, that's so satisfying. Whenever you sleep either like an Echo in the sky or a Sigma alting or a Farah.
Yeah. Like canceling an alt in any way, like a Reaper starts, you hear that first die, slept, done. Cancel them out.
It's incredible.
Yeah, It's such a good feeling because you know you just saved like half your team.
Literally the last game that we played before doing this, Colin and I, there was a Reaper on King's Row who TP'd into the back line to alt. Colin slept him and I stunned him as McCree at the exact same time. And he got like half of a word of die off before he just got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I was really upset because I thought I would think personally that sleep would have more of a priority over stun. So I slept him, but as he was falling, stun hit him and it stunned him instead of sleeping him, which I thought, like, in a perfect world there should be a priority system. Because sleep is a hard CC and stun is a soft CC for the most part. Because sleep, you're out. Stun, you're only out for what, like 0.8 seconds. So I was very surprised to see, like, as he's falling, Greg stunned him and he just immediately went into stun. Because what was it, a year or so ago, somebody talked about how stuns stack, like they don't stack, they replace the time. But I didn't think that it was going to be something so significant like that, like where McCree's stun is just going to immediately take you out of sleep to the point where you don't even do the standing animation or anything. You just pop back up into a stunned animation.
Yeah. Greg, let's say solid number 3 pick as your Ana. Nice repeat, yes, of course. Unfortunately, Aaron isn't here because I know my number 3 pick would 100% be on his top 5 pick. My number 3 is the Ice Queen herself, May. You know, I mean, besides just popping walls, cutting off the other team's Reinhardt from them, just being able to decimate them, I just love playing as May. I think it's so fun. Like, Greg, you said, just sleeping someone and then doing the quick teabag just to annoy them. Just freezing everyone I know just makes them irate. especially a Zarya that's no bubbled anymore and just pretty much like full charge, just freezing her and killing her real quick. It's just so frustrating. I know for them. It is for me.
Whenever we used to be in the pregame lobby before the Ana thing, Ron, you used to play May and I would play Widow, and
Yes.
you would freeze me, wave, and then shoot me in the head while I was still frozen and kill me.
Yeah, I actually changed my L3 command to be the wave emote to say hi.
To say hello.
Yeah, because I used to just quickly hold down and swerve, and it just wasn't cutting it. Because sometimes you'd come back and then pop me. I'm like, I can't let this happen anymore. So I changed that to be wave. And I wanted to do that with Ana. I just didn't get around to doing it because I don't hit my sleeps as often as you guys do. But doing it as May is so much fun. I love our May and Widow rivalries. It makes me sad when you just go back to Ana, you know. But if we're on
Hey,
Chateau
I'm
Deep
down
Tower,
whenever.
I know you go to Widow, and I go to May.
Yeah.
I think the biggest changes, because I'm trying to think of like fun things with all the patches, was two good ones is how effective May was at freezing people that they had to like nerf it so much to the point where now movement speed is less, but the freeze duration and the freeze time is increased. And then another one was 3 years ago ish. They allowed the freeze to actually pierce through enemies. So essentially, if everybody was in a line or at least within the cone of her blaster,
Mm-hmm.
you could freeze all of them instead of just who's in front of you.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, Greg, what is super satisfying when you play
basically
May
what killed dive.
is hitting a Pharah with an icicle. Just like crack headshot.
Yes.
Done so.
Dude,
You know, you
hitting
just
people
pop
just
on.
from
headshot,
icicles
too.
in general.
Yeah. What'd you say, Colin?
Hitting people with headshot icicles in general is just so satisfying.
It is. Because it takes that like half second to charge and then however long to just distance travel.
It's almost a better feeling than hitting a headshot with Widow.
Yeah.
No,
That's
it always
that's
is a
why
better
I
feeling.
love
They're
playing
close.
May. That's honestly like why that's pretty much my go-to when we can. or when I
Overwatch
can
has
play
just
damage.
done. Overwatch has just done a really good job at making headshots very satisfying to hit with like single fire
Definitely.
guns.
Yeah, like Call of Duty used to be like that, and then they changed it up, and now it's not as fun. It's not as
It's more
You can change
satisfying.
it back to the old sound, Greg.
They did. Well, I haven't played for a while.
You can. I mean, you could in Modern Warfare. I don't know if you
Yeah,
can in
Modern
Cold
Warfare
War.
was the one that they did that.
Yeah. You can do.
But in
like,
Modern,
the old-
oh yeah, in Modern Warfare, I felt like it was really satisfying. Is that what
Modern
you're
Yeah, I
Warfare
talking
was
think
good.
I think Modern Warfare had a good one.
Well, the difference between the two games is that you only get that noise when you get the headshot kill, but in Overwatch, anytime you hit the head, you hear that satisfying ding.
Yeah,
about?
Yeah.
So it's nice. If that happened in
like-
COD, it would definitely make it more arcadey for sure, but it would be so much more fun.
it's
Well,
a very
Call
like
of Duty's already an
thick-
arcade game, dude.
I
yeah,
mean,
it
you're
is an
right,
arcade
Yeah.
game at this point. But I think the headshot noise in Overwatch is, to explain it for people who haven't played or heard it, it's very thick. Like it sounds like you're like a thunk, but
Yeah.
a very high pitched thunk all at the same time. So it's very thick and rich of sound, which is what makes it feel so good.
But yeah, May is my number 3 pick, pretty much for those reasons, and her ult is just a lot of fun if you can get the whole team or just at least get the main tanks, because it really helps you win the fight.
Yeah.
But Zach, I want to hear what your number 3 pick is, bud.
My number 3 pick is Junkrat.
Junkrat.
Yeah, if you guys remember back whenever we played comp in the before times, I would always be on Junkrat if we needed a Junkrat.
Yes,
I feel
facts.
like Junkrat is, I think, the first character I started to get good at. That started to require more like niche situations. Because like before that, I'd always play like Soldier, Reaper, and then whatever else we needed. But I think Junkrat was probably the first character I started to get good at aside from like the pretty easy to pick up characters to play. I just really like his kit. The grenades are really fun to play with. You can really like mess around with a lot of people with like the trap and like what you do with the trap and the mine, the way you can move with it as well as use it as like an offensive device. Um, I really like that in his kit. And then his Krampus skin, I think, is just probably
Oh, yeah.
one of the best in the game. So
Yeah.
he gets a buff for that.
No, definitely. I love his Krampus skin. I kind of like his the new skin there you have now for the
The
event,
candy
which
one?
The candy.
the candy one. I kind of liked it, but I didn't get it.
I like the rubber duck.
Oh, is the
Rubber
event
duck
over, or is that ending
No,
today?
today.
Yeah,
Well,
I
technically
should
it's
One.
until like 1 o'clock tomorrow, but
Nah, I got you.
essentially
yeah.
today.
I have to buy the
I gotta
rest of the
hop
skins
on
I
and
want.
yeah, I gotta open those loot boxes. Sadly,
Oh yeah, you do. You have like 40 at this
Yeah.
point, right?
I think
yeah.
I
I'm
think
just about
something that's
that.
good with Junkrat, or not good. One of the patches that are interesting with Junkrat would be the fact that he can now hold 2 mines. Whenever the game came out, he couldn't hold 2 mines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he only had 1 mine, and I don't remember what the time limit was, but he couldn't, like, the tire couldn't climb walls infinitely. They were like 2 seconds of climbing, and then it had to fall off
In the before times.
in the before 4 times.
Colin, is your number 3 pick? Have any fun facts about the before times?
No, because he's fairly new. My number 3 pick is Sigma. Um,
Sigma, huh?
Sigma is extremely powerful. Um, I don't even know where to really start with Sigma because, like I said, he's extremely powerful. I guess one fun fact after like doing a bunch of things, a theoretical, if Sigma used all of his health, all of his barrier health, his abilities with kinetic grasp, and he could potentially, um, whenever he's not being healed, if he's healed, this goes up even more, but he could potentially block 3,881 damage in the 3 seconds of him being alive while he's blocking that. So that's like the highest health that anybody in the game has.
What really like sucks about Sigma, but honestly just balances him out so much is his movement speed.
Well, his movement speed is the same as everybody else.
Is it? It feels
Yeah.
It doesn't
so
feel like it.
slow.
Oh, it doesn't feel like it, but it is the same. It's whatever it is, 5.5 meters.
I swear I saw something saying he was the slowest, but that could have been like before patches and stuff. But
Well, he has a lot of things that like reduce his movement speed, like accretion that reduces him basically down to nothing. I don't think kinetic grasp does it, but I think firing reduces his speed a little bit. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that one. Um, but
yeah,
I think that the 2 second recall on his shield was needed. I don't know if I like exactly 2 seconds. I think like honestly 1.8 seconds would be fantastic.
if we get a solid 1.95 going on,
Yeah, I mean, I think 1 second's too much. 1.5 seconds still a little bit too fast. It feels a little bit too fast. But 1.8 gives you just the tiniest bit of grace period to where you can reposition your shield quickly whenever something happens. Because it only gives you like a 0.3 second for most abilities because of cast time. So you have a really higher chance of doing what we used to do with Sigma, which was literally just spam throw out the shield. And you could essentially do that again in a different, more controlled way instead of just spamming it out. Um Kinetic grasp is essentially Diva. matrix, but I mean, the fact that you get 400 health potentially from kinetic grasp, it makes it significantly better, I would say personally. Um, Gravitic Flux is the game-ending ult. You are playing, if you're playing with a minute left, if you're playing with like a Sigma on either team and you get into overtime and that Sigma saved his Gravitic Flux, he just lifts him up and slams him down. And whether or not overtime ends by the time they start to slam down, or overtime, you know, you just slam the whole team and inflict 50% damage
Right.
onto all of them. Like it's huge game ender. It's a game ender. Um,
It does a lot.
yeah, and that's the thing is like, yes, his ultimate doesn't require a whole hell of a lot of skill, if I'm being honest with you. It requires game sense. Like you need to know when people are going to do things. Like, did people use certain abilities? Okay, bam, I'm going to do it. Or pop it, use it, and then immediately get behind a corner, and you're safe there too. And then the fact that he has a stun, that inflicts a ton of damage. He has a barrier that can move anywhere. He has kinetic grasp, which sucks up everything. He has a game-ending ult, and he has a more skill-shoddy shooting ability, which he shoots mini black holes at people. I think it makes him like a very high skill ceiling, but at the same time very low entry. There haven't been too many huge things other than the fact that they changed um whatever that experimental barriers time. Experimental barriers time used to be instant, and then they changed it to 1 second, and then they changed it to like I don't remember. Then they changed it to like 2. They changed it back a little bit, and now I think it's like 2.5 seconds, which is crazy to me. I think they need to make it like 1.8. I think that's perfect. Oh,
Matt.
and then the Great Barrier nerf because DPS players aren't having fun, so they have to balance the game around DPS players because that's basically who plays their game. So they deleted like half of experimental barriers health, which wasn't very cool.
I feel like that's a shot at me and Zach.
Not really.
Didn't
You
it?
guys
It
play
really
other
did.
things.
You're in the crossfire.
You guys play other things though. Like you guys will play tank. You will play support. You just like to play damage more, which there's no problem there. But
It's not
you have a
because
lot
we
of people
have
that
to.
they sign in on Overwatch
Yeah.
and they have 100 some hours plus in damage in 3 minutes and everything else. But I don't know. I think barriers were fine. IMO, but that's just me.
Matt, since
It
you
is
are
just you,
back,
dog.
I want to hear what Matt's number 2 pick is.
My number 2 pick was Tracer, also known as T-Racer.
Racer.
Yes, T-Racer is another one of my mains from yesteryear. It's not that Tracer stopped being good. She's definitely not as good as she was when I played her a lot. It's mostly that they implemented the 2-2-2 system, meaning
Yeah.
that in
Yeah.
your queues, only 2 people can queue as tank, 2 people can queue as damage, 2 people can queue as support. So whenever I queue in, because I'm a support player, I always queue as support. And I know that like it's easier to say I'm gonna play Tracer this game because I want to play Tracer if you don't have to queue as a specific role. But I think it's weird to like try to claim a spot if I'm only gonna play Tracer, if that makes sense. Because
No,
if
that's
I'm
fair.
trying to play damage and Tracer's not working, I don't have a damage secondary. Sort of like tank. Like I don't have
He's a
tank
one-trick.
secondary. I'm a one trick. I only play support. I have support secondaries. I don't have damage or tank secondaries. So it's kind of tough to try to queue into that role.
Yeah, the thing that really sucked about 222 is like before they put it in, like we all had like characters we could play pretty well across the board. And like if there was ever a situation where we needed a Mei, then Ron could obviously play Mei or like Pharah. Like Ron was always really good at those two, whereas like I couldn't. So I'd swap over to like Orisa because like I'm competent enough at Orisa to make that trade off.
Where it was like I'm playing Winston. The enemy team has this cracked out Reaper or something who hard counters Winston, and I'm like, okay, I can't play tank right now. Ron, I need you to switch over to tank, and then I'll heal or
Right.
play damage or do it like
And
literally anything else to be able to
I
function
think
in this team.
I think that was a great thing about non-role queue, so open queue as they call it now, was it was a balancing act, right? So you might swap to May because we need May. So Ron will swap to May because we need May. But you don't necessarily need to swap off of the other DPS because you might be at like 70% ult, but May's really going to change the fight. So you just wait until you use your ult and then you pop back in as whatever else. So it was like this awesome balancing act. The problem is if you didn't play with 4 or more people, it felt like it was 5 DPS, 1 healer the whole game.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
No, definitely. It's part of. I mean, you
think
can always still play open queue if you want. We just
the
haven't, we never really.
oh
did
yeah,
it.
I
still
refuse
kinda
to
wanna-
at this point
It's
because
I
not,
would
but the
try.
problem, it's like, yeah, you can, but it's not comp. Like, you're not really like earning anything.
Yeah.
well,
You're just playing because you want to have fun.
you can play open queue comp, but I think the problem with that is most of the people that are populating it are teams or DPS players, right? Like that's my assumption. I haven't played it because that's my assumption, and I don't want to play
I didn't
against
know you could
teams.
do comp open queue. That's
You
interesting.
can, but
Mhm.
is it worth it? Probably not.
You have to re-rank, I'm pretty sure, as well.
You do,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's a
has its
separate
own
thing.
separate rank.
But you'll get more competitive points. So
Technically, yes.
just place and then be done. And then just don't touch it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Honestly, next time you run into like rank issue, we just want to hop into that and see if that
Yeah, that
see
could
what
just
that
be
does.
easier.
I'm not opposed. I mean, it's
Yeah.
another game mode we can just mess around with. That is still comp. So, but
Yeah.
Wait,
Greg-
I wasn't finished. I wasn't finished.
Oh,
wasn't
Ron.
oh
finished.
my God, I'm
I
sorry.
have so many more
Everyone
things to say about Tracer.
Everyone talked over you. I'm sorry. Go on.
Tracer is annoying as fuck if you're playing against her. Being like figuring out how to like dip and dive and blink all over the place and recall and fight all of the enemy DPS and dive into the back line and take out the supports. Like it's such a fun character to use, but if you're on the opposite end, it's just an absolute nightmare. Like learning Tracer. Like I don't think she's hard to use, but I think in a lot of instances, like the Tracer dittos, like when the enemy team has a Tracer as well, and you're fighting Tracer v Tracer, I think that's probably the highest like skill in the game. Like if you're fighting a Tracer, the better Tracer will win 100% of the time, in my opinion. And I think it's a lot of fun to play Tracer v Tracer and do stuff like that. Her ultimate is super fun, but also very punishing. I can't hit it consistently because I suck, but it's the way the news goes.
I think it was a mixture of Seagull and Carpe or Sabiolbi. Watching them play Tracer and them talk about it. I know a lot of it was Seagull because Seagull really fucking hates Tracer, but I think the combination of those guys talking about it and them basically all saying, and I think Seagull said it the closest to what I'm going to say is, and this is what helped me improve my Tracer play, was don't treat Tracer like she is a precision player. Like you're not going to try and hit your shots. They said you don't even really need to hit or use your aim ability. They were like, just blink in close enough to where you literally can't miss, shoot, and then get the hell out. And that made my Tracer play significantly better after hearing that. Because once you hear, like, this is how the pros play it, and they basically just run up to somebody, shoot them a bunch of times, get out, get back in, shoot them a bunch of times, get out, get back in, shoot them a bunch of times, boom, bomb, okay, we win. You kind of go, oh, wow, okay, so I shouldn't try to just kill people. I should try to torture people. And that's kind of whenever you realize that you need to torture people with Tracer or take out the Zen. Zen is just juicy cake for Tracer. But that really changed how I played Tracer whenever I realized that.
Matthew, anything else to say about T-Racer?
No, sir. I do have her gold guns though. By the way, it's the only
Ooh.
hero I've gotten gold guns for.
Hey.
Well, as someone who is going to be going next has like freaking 15 gold guns at this point, Greg, I want to hear what your number 2 pick is.
I don't actually have a gold gun for this character, but he is probably one of my new favorites to play. And it is the Icy Wrist himself,
Ooh.
Mr. Nice Watch.
Doomfist.
They say.
Just spam and they say.
He did.
Yep. Doomfist. He has the one-shot potential. He's so annoying if the other team doesn't have like a McCree to stun him or like just anybody to really take. It's kind of like Tracer, where if you don't have somebody that can actually like hard counter him, you're just gonna punish every single person in the lobby. And
For sure.
I mean, just trying to learn, like, I've just been having a lot of fun learning like the different tech of him and how he can break the physics of the game and jump with like a straight punch. And
Whenever you learned that, you were like, "No freaking way!" And then you like just charged into the wall like 5 times until you finally started getting it.
yeah, like it's not easy, but once you get the timing, then you can get it
You just
almost
launch
all the
everywhere.
time. But yeah, I've just been really enjoying trying to learn how to play him, and I've been trying to play him more in comp. It's just he's a very I feel like a very map specific character.
I think
For the most part, yeah.
Unless you're like obviously a one
Goated.
trick and know exactly every
Yeah.
rollout for every map.
you have to definitely play a very 3D map because having high ground, 15
I mean,
meters? Is it 15 meters that gives you max damage on Seismic Slam?
No clue.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be. I found out it doesn't even have to be meters. Like you can do it in a way where you're bumping into a wall to hang time and gain more damage.
Yeah, but technically you're moving. I know that sounds weird, but you are like it doesn't necessarily need to be meters in an arc. It's just I don't know how to explain that. It's weird. It's a weird mechanic, but
Yeah,
the
he's
fact
pretty
that
broken.
if you're just on high ground, like let's say it's first point Gibraltar, you're on that high ground, you're dealing like 100 damage per slam.
Yeah.
And then you uppercut somebody, shoot them once, they're gone.
I mean, even if you are just doing a regular slam, you slam, shoot, uppercut, shoot, they're dead, and they have no
Yeah.
time to react to it. And then you punch out, and you're still alive.
And for a lot of people, the go-to is slam, shoot, uppercut, shoot. But what you should really do is jump slam because you get an extra just little bit of damage. I think it's only like an extra
9.
13 damage or something. But like that extra little bit could account for you missing 2 pellets.
Yeah, and I
it's
just got his
free.
new formal skin, so or not.
There you go.
That's not a new formal skin, but new to
Which is
me.
Icy.
Yeah, the icy wrist.
Yeah.
Mr. Nice Watch.
Mr. Nice.
And I think the nice thing about Doomfist is just, and this is just me, I don't like Genji. Genji needs a lot of resources in order for him to be pulled off. That's why he's not in the meta. He hasn't been in the meta for a very long time. He has to use all of his cooldowns if he wants to kill somebody. If he does kill somebody, then he probably just needs to use his cooldown to get out. Where with Doomfist, yes, there's a lot of times where you're just going to slam, uppercut, punch out. But there's also a lot of times where you're going to slam in, you're going to uppercut, you're going to kill them, and then your team is going to secure another kill, and then you have free reign. You're just going in and bashing people into walls, slamming people into the air. Like, you're doing whatever you want to do at that point. And I think Doomfist just has higher potential because of Meteor Strike. It doesn't require resources to go off. You just go off with Meteor Strike, whether it's retreat to just go off with all your abilities, go down to like 0 health, and then use Meteor Strike to get the hell out, or you just capitalize on everything. You get like 3 kills, you slam the last 2 people, and they're out. They're done.
Yeah, and the fact that Meteor Strike also gives you shield.
Everything gives you shield. It's just
Yeah.
Meteor Strike gives you more.
Well, if you hit more people, you'll
'Cause I
probably hit
think
more people with Meteor
Meteor
Strike.
Strike gives you 75 per enemy hit, and abilities, except for shooting, gives you 30 per enemy hit.
Greg, anything else to say about the man with the icy wrist himself?
No, that's it.
Right. Well, to move on to my number 2 pick. My number 2 is an oldie because I haven't been able to play him in so long, but it's Roadhog.
Ooh.
The man with
It's
the
Roadhog
hook.
time.
The man with the hook. Um, pretty much as we talked about earlier, that's how I got to platinum. Just in general, is because of Roadhog. Like mid plat. I think I was close to diamond. I don't remember how close I was though.
I think you
Um,
were 26.
I think it was like 27. It wasn't like super close. I remember being closer, but that's also just years ago of like remembering stuff. So, I think it was around like mid 26, 27, whatever. But the broken hook when that game came out or whenever I was playing it was so great.
Ugh.
Pretty much being able to one hit anything that was in front of you was just busted. And just being able to self-sustain is amazing. Roadhog is one of the 2 heroes I have with a gold gun, the other being my number 1. And yeah, I don't know. His skins are great. They at least some of them, I should say. Like the more recent skins have been really good with
Yeah,
Roadhog.
he's had good skins.
Yeah. And they had that little new plush event with him with that skin,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty hype.
Pachimari.
Yeah, the Pachimari. That skin I like a lot, but I think I just bought a skin just because it was just 1,000 coins because of the event going on right now. So been kind of repping some different stuff for characters, but yeah. I mean, not too much else to say about Roadhog. I know we talked about him a bit already, but that's why he's my number 2.
I think Roadhog still. I mean,
He's still
even
good.
though Rissa's pull has been nerfed so much, I think Roadhog still has a very huge potential with his hook because it's kind of like a McCree flash, right? Or a miniature, McCree. It's a zoning in its own right? Like you're not going to push into a Roadhog that you're not sure if he used hook or not because that's a guaranteed kill
Yeah,
for
exactly.
him. So unless you know Roadhog used hook, you're kind of staying away poking until he tries to use hook.
Would you call yourself a hooker if you use Roadhog?
Um,
I guess you have to, right?
yeah, I guess you would have to.
I
Ron,
feel
your
it's the only
your
conclusion to make.
your high on Roadhog was 2574.
Really? I
But
swear it was a bit higher.
really, funny enough, you played more Diva that season.
I think maybe the meta was changing around that point.
Oh, and you saying Ron earned his platinum ranking?
Yeah, I mean
Well,
he did obviously. He would have to play the game and get there.
That's true. I'm almost there again, basically off of Reinhardt. I'm trying to get it. I think there's like 20 days left in the season.
We'll get there.
Ish.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna get it. On God, I'm getting it with Reinhardt. I need it.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
Honestly, I think I might end up just choosing his hammer as my next gold weapon, just because I pretty much only play tank at this point. So might have to. It was between him and May, but we'll see. But yeah, as I said, that Roadhog is my number 2 pick, and Zach, I want to hear what yours is.
My number 2 pick is Genji. I love Genji. I think he's so fun to play. I would probably say he's probably in the top 3 of most difficult characters to play in the game, just because his skill floor is so high, and then I feel like skill ceiling is even higher. Um, you guys remember when I started like playing Genji and like to the point where I was actually getting good with him? I never he really like opened my eye up. Like I felt like whenever I started to like understand him as a character and what I needed to do to function with him, it like kind of opened my third eye of Overwatch. Just because whenever you're playing Genji, you can't. Because before that, like I would always think like, okay, these are my skills, these are what I have. There's the enemy team, let's kill them. With Genji, I started to have to think so much more about where I could climb, where health packs in the game were, thinking more strategically about like dashing through things. Like if I dash through this, where am I going to be? Can I climb a wall to escape? Is there a health pack back there? Do I need health? Where's like as far as like dashing into like people to clean up kills, how much health does everybody have? Is it worth dashing into this team and dashing out? Can I get my dash to refresh if I do that? Like things like that. Um, and I just loved hopping into like deathmatch lobbies, and I just knew the character. I started to get really good at predicting when like widows, McCrees, and just people would shoot. I got really good at not only just deflecting, but actually like aiming my deflect back at people. And there's nothing better than like a widow or like a Hanzo shooting at you, and you just hit them in the head and kill them with their bullet. Probably one of the more satisfying feelings in the game. But yeah, other than that, I just think he's a really cool character. I think his story's really cool. How Hanzo kills him and all that stuff. And then I
Spoilers.
mean, I like his skins. But yeah, he's a cyborg ninja that can do a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, Genji has solid skins. He gets a lot of good treatment with his.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Colin, who is your number two?
My number two, funny enough, is the same as Greg's.
Ooh, little
Doomfist.
copycat.
Wow.
Doomfist is a great character. Um, a lot of these characters I picked because they also teach you a lot about the game once you start to kind of figure them out. Like Baptiste teaches you a lot of restraint on when to use Immortality Field, because if you use it too early, then your team gets run over. If you use it too late, your team already got ran over. So you have to like really know when to use it, but you want to hold it like it's your trap card. Ana, it teaches you priority, like who has priority in the game. Sigma teaches you what it means to take an off angle. Doomfist is the one that teaches you what it means to engage and when to disengage. Um, just because you have to understand that, yes, you might go in, you might get an extra 60 health, and then you're at 310 health technically. But if you're not capitalizing on the kills, or you're not really doing a whole lot other than slam uppercut because you're not shooting in between or whatever it might be, you're not learning cooldown management, which is another big thing with Doomfist. And Ana and Doomfist have very large cooldown management skill ceilings, and I think that's the thing that I like about Doomfist is it's very much like it's a low skill floor because you can sit behind a wall, charge up your punch, and slam into somebody and kill them for giggles. Like it's a low skill floor, but he gets punished if he goes in too far. So the skill ceiling is near infinite, just like Ana or Tracer. So I enjoy Doomfist. I think he's a lot of fun to play. He's a very cool character. He has really cool lore. Um, and he hasn't had too many like massive nerfs. Like a lot of them, it's like they adjust one thing and then they realize that like that wasn't the issue, so they adjust something else, and then a few months later they're like, oh well, since that thing wasn't the issue, we'll change it back, or we'll change it to a little bit less than what it was or a little bit more. So like they're kind of just trying to figure out the right wavelength at this point. It's not like a huge, oh crap, his punch is a one shot and we don't want them to one shot anymore, so now he only does 50 health or something. Like
No, right.
it's just been small damage, like small changes, small changes, small changes.
Yeah, I've played him a bit, and he's pretty fun. But like I said, I'm usually either on tank, and I love playing support more than damage. Usually, so that's usually what I end up just hopping on, regardless.
Yeah.
But anything else to say about Doomy Glooms, Colin?
No, I think I covered quite a bit whenever Greg brought it up,
All
but
right.
he's very fun.
So, boys, we are now at the part of the show. We're going to go over our number one ranking, and Matt this week is going to be kicking it off with his number one pick.
I get to go for my number one now.
You
That's
do
where
get to
we're
go
at.
for your number one, yeah?
Bro, sick, bro. My number one is Zenyatta.
Oh my god. The one no
Yes.
one saw coming.
Yeah, Zenyatta's the hero. If I didn't have him, if I didn't have the most playtime on Zenyatta before, I definitely do now. He's 100% my favorite hero to play in the game. He's sort of like this robotic monk dude, if you're not familiar with him, and he's like a long range healer. That's his gimmick. He like throws orbs out at people as his projectiles, and he gives out Discord orbs, which makes it so that the enemy with a Discord orb takes more damage, and then he has healing orbs, which you put on your teammate, and then he has his like sort of fight winning ultimate, which is Transcendence, where he basically just makes it so that no one can die while it's active, except for if like they diva bomb or something.
It has to be burst damage that kills
Yeah,
them. It can't be
has to be burst
damage over
damage.
time.
And I think the concept of the long range healer is super fun and like honestly relatively unexplored in a lot of games. That's why Ana made my list too, because she kind of fills that role, but also not really, because you still kind of want to be rumbling to throw out sleeps and nades and stuff like that. But Zenyatta, you can really just hang in the back and just poke people, and then charge up like your alternate fire, where you just throw a bunch of orbs out at once, which is kind of insane. Like you can break down a lot of barriers doing that.
Huge burst damage.
Yeah. And overall, I think Zen is the most fun hero in the game, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
I love
Like I
Zen.
played this. I played Zen's been like in my constant rotation since day one. I played him when he was trash, just because I really liked the character. And I've played him when he was really good. I feel like right now he's just kind of medium, but he's just, if I'm queuing into support, Zen's my best support, so I'm playing Zen 99% of the time. If I have to, I'll swap over to my Mora secondary, but if you see me playing Overwatch, I will be playing Zenyatta most of the time.
So
Yeah,
if you
his
see
Discord is
Matt's
just so
gamer
good.
tag pop up, just immediately play Tracer.
Please don't.
Or Reaper TP behind him, and then just mess him up in the back line.
Give him a quick doink in the head.
No, his Discord is so powerful. That's
Reapers
why I
are
love
okay.
it.
I feel like I can 1v1 Reaper if they don't surprise me.
Well,
Like
Yeah.
I think Zen can 1v1 every non-tank, Tracer character in the game, to be honest.
I think Zen, just because he has the shields, which
Yeah,
gives
he
him
has
the
his
potential
own
to heal himself.
self-sustain, which is pretty. Because realistically, Zen has so little HP that you're not going past. Like, there's not going to be a point where your shield isn't going to be recovering your full health. Otherwise, you're just going to die. Like, I think he actually
Yeah.
has like 50 HP. The rest is shield,
Yes.
so
And
it's
I think
mostly charging.
that's the big thing is Zen. If you want to learn Zen, you're not supposed to be on the front line. You want to kind of be sitting back, because you need to be able to take poke damage, because the more poke damage you take, the longer you stay alive, because you can just regen it and regen it and regen it while you're still sitting there healing other people. That way your other healer doesn't have to worry about healing you. And even then, even if you're down, like you actually only have 1 health, so now you have 151 health with your shields, your healer doesn't need to worry about you. Because you should still be in the back taking poke, and then once the fight ends, then they can turn around and heal you. And that's like, I think a very strong thing with Zenyatta is there's a little bit of sustain there.
For sure, for sure. I think don't all the healers have some form of self-sustain though?
I think
They
so.
will in Overwatch 2. I mean, technically, right, like, you got Zenyatta who has shields, you have Moira who can just throw her own orb, but that's a cooldown that she has to use. Mercy, she actually just has that as a passive. Lucio, he technically heals himself. Brigitte does heal herself as well. Baptiste has to use a cooldown, and Ana has to use a cooldown.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So
It's
there's
just like
varying
mostly a
degrees.
part of their kits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Matt, thank you for your number one pick. We're going to move on to my number one pick, which is the tank herself. I think the best one, Diva, or D.Va, if you're
Dot
with it.
VA.
D.Va. Pretty much the main reason I chose this is one, comps changed and we started to go dive, so it like kind of shifted out Roadhog a bit. You get a lot more health just because you can, demech and then remech. You can stay alive for a very long time if you can place yourself well, or if you don't get, stomped on by a Reaper when you're demeched or anything. Honestly, the biggest thing that makes her my number one is just the satisfyingness of popping off your ult, and like there's like that 3 seconds of silence, and then if you just wipe a whole team, it's just the best feeling in the
And then
world.
you get play of the game.
Yeah,
of
it's
course,
play the game button.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing.
Hoggers.
I think
Poggers.
personally,
Yeah, that's right, Greg. Yeah.
Play
I
the
think-
game.
I think Diva's the best off tank.
Definitely.
She just has that high mobility for peeling. She maybe before Wrecking Ball got nerfed so hard in the last year, Wrecking Ball could have been better than Diva just because of how much CC he had.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Diva, just because, again, this is kind of like with Sigma, she has less temporary damage absorption. Her potential damage absorption would be 2,781 damage. That's like her highest potential damage absorption, right? And since she has that second life mode, in a sense, she can, in theory, absorb infinite damage as long as she doesn't die in mini.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just her flying ability, like the jetpacks, is what really makes Diva so good and why people play her a lot, because it's Diva or Zarya at this point as your off tank. Wrecking Ball, he got pretty much nerfed out of CCs, so now he's not that good anymore. And then you have Roadhog, who's kind of in his own league. You play that if you're playing really high damage. Other than that, you're playing Diva or Zarya.
Yeah, well, one of the things, like you said, I love just about Diva, just the ability to get back in your mech. And honestly, her doing 250 damage, if you call your mech
300.
someone, 300 is so
It's a
busted,
Doomfist hit.
but
yeah.
it's so good. It's so satisfying. You hate when it happens to you, but if you can kill a tank or like the healers with it, oh man, it's amazing.
It has an unreasonably large hitbox.
Yeah, for how much damage it does.
Yeah, for 300 health and for what it is, like, she should get punished if she runs at the enemy team. But there's, like, an extra, like, almost meter added on to the radius of the mech, which doesn't make any sense to me, because earlier today we were playing, and I literally just used sleep on somebody. And I see Diva running into the corner where I was on Hollywood, and I threw down a nade after she shot me to heal myself back up, get her purple, and then I started shooting her, and I was pretty far away, honestly. Like, I was far enough that, like, if she was walking, I wouldn't have been bumped by her. Like, she wouldn't have hit me, I wouldn't have hit her, our hitboxes wouldn't have collided. But she called in mech, and I died, and I was so infuriated by it, because it doesn't make any sense why it's that big. It should be the size of the circle that's on the ground, no bigger.
Yeah, no, it is kind of absurd, but until they patch it, I'm gonna take full advantage of it, so not too worried about it. But Diva is my number one pick, and Greg, we're gonna bring it. Or sorry, we already went to Greg. What? Zach?
No, we didn't.
We did not do Greggy.
Did I
You
cut
you
off
skipped
Greg?
me.
I
for
skipped you. Oh, it's so rude.
You're
that's
selfish.
That's
I
funny.
know. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, on our own.
Then I
Zach.
realized who I was talking to.
Dude,
and then I believed
he's
it.
never coming back. I already know it.
Not a shot.
No shot. Okay, well, Greg, if you would be so kind to say your number one pick, so we can carry on.
Well, I think Zach and I will probably have the same number one pick.
So
But
it
mine-
worked out. Good for me.
Yeah, so mine is gonna be Reaper. And I chose Reaper because I mean, recently, especially now that he got his health regen from
30 to
hitting shot,
35.
yeah, he got more health per shot that you hit. He just does so much damage and can heal himself and then can wraith walk away if he gets too low to get to a health pack or to other supports. And then his ultimate is, I think, one of the most fun to use whenever you're just like team.
Another
It's kind of
player
like the Diva Bomb, where like you can just literally wipe the whole team if they're off all their cooldowns.
I mean, you're potentially, with the new buff, you potentially, if you're hitting a few headshots, getting an extra 10 health per shot, which is huge. Like that stops a lot of incoming damage. And I think Reaper is one of those things where once they like started working on him, like actually allowing you to use Shadow Step in midair, um, changing Wraith so that way you can actually deactivate it, so cancel it early. Um, and then changing how armor works, like the few armor reworks that we've had. I think it balances out Reaper, but I think the new 35% instead of 30, that changes it a lot. I think that an extra 10 health per shot is pretty huge.
I think the TP that he has should be silent.
I do too. I think, or at least not necessarily as loud as it is, because it
That is
sounds
a
like he just
growler,
like
dude.
gets on the loudspeaker and then uses an amplifier to.
teleporting behind you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's like 20 meters away from you, and you're like, where? Now you're looking for the Reaper because you hear it.
No, definitely. It gives away a lot of positions. You pretty much are only doing it if like you have a lot of noise going on.
Yeah.
Zach, I'm pretty sure Greg already spoiled it for you, but anything to say about your number one? His mic is muted. I don't think he's there. Which would explain a
It
bit.
does not sound
That
like
would explain a lot. Okay. Uh, yeah, my number one is absolutely Reaper. I love Reaper to death. He was the first character I ever played on Overwatch. Aesthetically, I think he looks really awesome. Um, it just his shotguns are so good. Um, he's not a very difficult character to play, and like I think his skill ceiling actually raised ever since he got like his buffs and stuff like that. Because before, Greg, you never experienced the health orb reaper.
Yeah.
Because before, what would happen is whenever you got a kill, you wouldn't just absorb the health naturally. Whenever you killed somebody, they would like a little orb would pop up where they died, and that is how you healed.
You
You'd
had
have
to
to
back
go
up.
collect it.
You have to go
Yeah.
collect it. Yeah. So like the way you'd play him would be like Wraith started to become this thing where like you'd get a kill, maybe two, and then you'd Wraith in to grab the health orbs. Then you try to Wraith out. You also couldn't jump out of Wraith whenever you wanted to. You were locked in whenever you did it. So that made it a lot kind of easier um, for like Roadhogs and just different people to if they saw you go into Wraith, they know they have about like 2 seconds before you're out, so they would just still like follow you or get ready to shoot
Yeah.
you. I also think it was slower before. But yeah, and then his shadow step was basically useless, except just to like move quicker or like get positioning a little faster.
The really, really clutch like escape uh Junkrat tire or like bomb by teleporting. But that's
Yeah,
like
and it used to be
perfect
slow.
timing.
Yeah, and it used to be a lot slower. But yeah, I love Reaper. I love his story, like the lore aspect of Reaper as well, like his whole thing with Soldier and how they were friends, and like his like kind of like evolution into being like bad, and then like he's technically dead, but like Mercy revived him somehow, I believe is the way it worked. And Moira like enhanced him with like whatever she did to him. So yeah, so now he's like going around just trying to kill everyone on Overwatch because he has a whole vendetta against everything that Overwatch was and all that. And his relationship with Soldier and like how it like evolved and all that is really really cool to like look into. But yeah, he's great for like he can bust a tank pretty well. Arguably the best in the game. And yeah, man, I just love the character so much. It has some of the best skins in the game, I think. And then his ult, like, is easily you can easily team wipe, get a whole wipe with the ult. There's nothing better than just
Nano boost.
wraithing, yeah, nano boosting, and there's nothing better than just getting up on like a higher level than the enemy team, or like getting behind them and just dropping right down on them. Um, yeah, yeah, he's by far my favorite character in the game.
I'm pretty sure like 4 years ago or so, Shadow or not Shadow Step, Wraith form was 25% movement, and then it was increased to 50. And that's also whenever you could cancel it that they did that. Because a year before that they changed the damage orb or healing orbs to 20% of the damage taken or damage done was health. And then for some reason, I think their brain said, "Oh, we can stop goats by boosting it up to 50%," which was insane. That's 60 health per shot,
Yeah.
potentially more if you get headshots. I think that was a little silly, but now it's 35, which it's probably a little bit more than it needs to be. But I think he's more of a low skill hero. Just because like as you get higher up, like the heroes with infinite skill ceilings, like those are the ones that are getting played. But in lower
Yeah.
ranks, I think Reaper dominates a lot because of that now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like even especially in lower rankings, like it doesn't even matter if you're playing in a little more ranged area of a map. Like a Reaper can still do a lot of work if you let him. It's just whether you can shut that down or not, and like basically kill him before he has a chance to kill you.
Yeah.
Colin, what is your number one pick?
My number one, no surprise to everybody here, but surprise to everybody else, is Reinhardt. Um, I like the tank role. I'm obviously the very few since it's the least populated one. Um, I think Reinhardt purposefully perfectly encapsulates a lot of what you need to learn in this game. Cooldown management, um, restriction, like patience, um, game sense, because Earth Shatter is not something that you can just throw out there. Uh, timing, time sense, predictions, aggression, all of these things. There's even more. I'm just not going to keep naming things. But so many things go into understanding Reinhardt. And the more you learn about the game, the better you will be at Reinhardt. Where technically you can get away with a lot. If you play Sigma, you can get away with a lot. You can screw up all you want, and Sigma's probably just going to stay alive. If you play Diva, you can just get out. You have defense matrix. You have all kinds of things. You have a second life as Diva. Roadhog gives you 900 health. Zarya potentially has an extra 200 health whenever she wants. Whenever she screws up, she just goes, "Okay, I'm just not going to take damage." And then you're also going to make me deal more damage. But Reinhardt, because of his close range abilities, you have to have good time sense. You have to have good cooldown management. You have to understand the way the game is moving. You have to understand the ebb and flow. So that's why I really like Reinhardt, is you learn a lot about the game, and from there you can apply it to all the other people as needed. Um, he hasn't always been number one in the meta, but he's always been somewhere in the meta, whether he was a good off meta pick, so he was like the second best tank, because he's just good. I think the Great Barrier nerf didn't kill him too much because it only took 400 away from him, which isn't huge. Uh, But I'm excited to see what happens in Overwatch 2 with Charge and Fire Strike, because I think it'll just make him a more higher skill ceiling, just because getting to control Charge allows you to try and predict people coming around corners and maybe pinning them easier. Where right now you're not really predicting somebody coming around a corner. You wait to see them and then you pin. Just because of how Charge is. Fire Strike, giving you 2 Fire Strikes without another tank, I think just kind of balances it and doesn't really like add anything to his kit. But his ability to cleave is the best thing in the game, and I think in low rankings, as somebody like me, for people who don't know, if you put the enemies that you're trying to hit on either edge of your screen, you can hit them at a further distance, because it's not a semicircle in front of you that he swings, it's actually a rectangle. So if you're anywhere within his his handle to the edge of his hammer in a rectangle, not a semicircle. So you can actually hit people further. But the cool thing is unlike Winston, you can kind of control when people die, because you can either put people towards the right side of your screen and just keep pressing swing, and you can kill people faster that way. Or if you're trying to slow down the death of somebody because it's time sensing, you put them at the right or at the left side of your screen and you keep clicking. Or you just learn that whenever you swing and then you come back, you need to put them at the right side of your screen again. And then you can also control the CC of people, because believe it or not, the swing actually moves people. So you can actually boot people in the wrong direction that they don't want to go and keep them in the fight. It's like a super management to keep track of everything that he can do, but the more you learn about him, the more you can apply to every hero in the game, because he's so reliant on knowing how to play. And that's why I really, really enjoy Reinhardt.
Well, everyone, we are now at the part of the show where we're going to quickly go over our honorable mentions. And kicking it off this week is Matt Bush.
For my honorables, it's pretty self-explanatory. I picked heroes that I think are very fun to play, but I don't play super often. My first one, I had Pharah. I think Pharah is super fun. She's very unique amongst the cast, where all she does is really fly around and shoot rockets at people. I like to think that Pharah is either like the worst hero in the game or just stone cold unbeatable. Not really any in between with her. My other pick was, I'm trying to remember. Oh, Hans. I had Hanzo as my second pick.
Scatter Arrow.
Yeah, I love Hanzo. I suck as Hanzo. I will never play Hanzo seriously, but if I'm trying to have fun, I will load up Hanzo for sure.
I gotta be honest with you. I think that Storm Arrow is more broken than Scatter Arrow. Like, yes, Scatter Arrow was just kind of BS, just because you could just shoot it somewhere and somebody would die.
Yeah, it was just a kill.
But Storm Arrow's like, oh, you have a barrier? Not anymore. Or you had somebody who was
so much
like,
the meta is barrier.
Yeah, and like with Hanzo, it's kind of like, oh, you have somebody who's about at half health. Oh, they're dead. Where before it was like, okay, you had to shoot Scatter Arrow in the right spot to have everything bounce. Like, you kind of had to do that. Where now it's just kind of like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna like fire arrows until something dies.
And then my last pick was Mei. I think playing Mei is so fun and very frustrating for the other team, but fuck them, am I right?
No, definitely. Just like Matt, just walling off the right person, man, is so satisfying, because they try to jump backwards. You're like, well,
yeah, it's so
screwed.
Fun.
You see like the panic go off. It's great. I love it.
You can't do anything. You're just up to the Mei's devices.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Matt, if you are done with your honorable mentions, this time I'm not going to skip our guest, Greg. Who are your honorable mentions or dishonorables? Because I know we were talking about back and forth a bit about it earlier.
Yeah, so I'll just do honorable first.
Okay.
I would say Moira and Tracer are like the two that almost made it to the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like Moira's the second like go-to support, and Tracer, I was struggling because I love playing as Tracer. I hate playing against Tracer, and
Yeah, same.
especially if it's a good Tracer, then you're just not having fun all game. But she is really fun to play as. But the biggest honorable mention I had was the most overpowered hero in the entire game, Symmetra.
Hey.
I love Symmetra.
Let's
Symmetra is
go.
really good.
I played
Sym-
Symmetra when she was trash.
Whenever she was a support
Oh my
character.
god, Matt did it as a joke, too.
I did, but she wasn't even that bad though, honestly.
Compared to
Back
now,
whenever
she's
she was
trash.
a support character.
Well, yeah, compared to now, like, but even back then, she wasn't even that bad.
No, my favorite part about Greg, and I'll let you go off on this a bit, but whenever we had you play, we had you play her, you'll get play of the game, and we just watch you hold down R2 for about
Yeah, you
15
hold R2
seconds.
Yeah,
Collect.
It's like, yeah, this is great. This is very riveting.
like it's really not a hard character to be good at because
No.
all you do is just hold the trigger and just swipe around the map, just aiming
Yeah.
at people.
Mm-hmm.
You either spam photons at the choke, or they move into the choke, and then you hold R2 until they're all dead.
The thing that
And if
makes
the other
Sim good-
team has double shield, then you're instantly getting charged up
Yeah, you
and
just hold R2 for
refilling your
tables.
ammo.
No, for sure.
Sim's biggest counter also isn't meta anymore. Like Winston could never lose to a Symmetra. You were just down a hero at that point.
Doomfist is pretty good against Sim. That's like just because it can one shot.
Like Winston walked into a room and her turrets got erased, so half of her
Yeah.
kit was just validated.
And like she didn't have teleporter like she did now, and she also
Sure.
instead of having photon barrier, she just gave everybody more shields.
Yeah, which wasn't like much.
I mean, it was a difference, don't get me wrong, because everybody having 25 shields, that's just chip damage. Like the people have to now engage the fight instead of chipping away.
Right.
But I think photon barrier's a much better ability. While also like requiring a little bit of coordination, right? Like it's not necessarily like an end all be all, but like if you're decent at it, you can shut down stuff with photon barrier.
It's also really good if all your shields are gone and then like a diva bomb goes off and you just like last second throw up your barrier and block
Yeah.
everybody
Mhm.
and save everybody. But
I-
no, she was one of the characters that I started climbing the most with.
Now, Greg, you never had the chance to play with her whenever she was a support character. But she also used to have a shield. And she could use, I think it was called projected shield. And what you would do is it was essentially like Sigma barrier, except you couldn't stop it. You threw it out and it constantly moved forward until it hit something and then it broke. So she was like a weird support character because she could throw out like this low cost shield and just kind of run at people.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about that
got
shield
so
was
many
when-
reworks.
You could fight Afara with Sim back then and throw the shield at her, and then she would die from her own splash damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, she changed so much over the years. I think for the
Oh.
better.
So much.
Yeah.
So much.
And Greg, did you have the dishonorables? I know you had like your quick little.
Oh yeah,
list,
just real quick, dishonorable. Bastion, Mercy, Farah, just the worst characters in the game.
Yeah.
I know
Alright, go ahead.
Greg had to get it off his chest. Yeah.
Understandable.
The pharmacy combo with an attack bastion, of course, is always the most annoying. but
Right.
Yeah.
Always the attack Attack Bastion.
Always the attack bastion.
Or the Mercy that doesn't res but pockets the diva.
Oh, we love those.
Oh, we
huh?
just had that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did. It's great. It's great. Or just the
does
mercy that doesn't
nothing
know how to
but
res at
pocket
all.
the diva.
But Greg, great honorables and dishonorables. I think you speak for all of us on the dishonorables. To move on to my honorables. My number 3 I had was Zenyatta, one of my favorite healers. Usually, if I'm ever healing with Matt, I'm obviously not choosing Zen. That's his territory, and I know that. But if he's not in the party and I can be a healer, and Lucio doesn't like work too much, and we need Discord, so I'll choose Zen. I love him, pretty much for that reason. Pharah is my number 2. Pretty much before roll Q, when I would play attack, that's who I would mostly main, is Pharah and a couple other people. As Matt said, is very unique, and being able to never touch the ground is such a huge perk if you play her correctly. So
Now it's significantly harder. 'cause
now
they
it's a lot
changed all of
harder.
those.
You're gonna touch the ground at some point, but trying to like touch ground on like a high ground map isn't like the worst thing in the world, but it can still make or break an epic. Like if you're on Temple of Anubis, it's not a big deal because you can get on a roof and you'll be set. But
Yeah.
if it's a different map, like I don't know, I can't name one off the top of my head, but if you have to touch ground, you're kind of screwed at that point. And finally, my last one is Reinhardt, of course, because I've had to pretty much start playing him since Colin ranked too high for the early Greg and Aaron to play with. And now pretty much Colin's just stuck to healing at this point because he's just been playing it. And I think you still can't play tank. I think it's with
can't
Matt
play tank
at this
if
point.
if we play with Matt or Zach. I can't play tank.
Gotcha.
Aaron was dangerously close to being there today, but we brought him back up.
Good. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so since Colin hasn't been able to do that, I've been pretty much the only other tank main since, before the beginning of time. I know Greg's been playing some more tank as well, so it's always appreciated, of course. But I've had to pick up the slack on Reinhardt and try to learn him. And he's just a lot of fun, just swinging your hammer and clonking people all the time.
Oh, dude, there's nothing more satisfying than hearing thunk, thunk,
Yeah,
thunk,
exactly.
and then dead.
Yeah, just some Elin's gone off. You use your hammer, you hammer down, hit a few times, throw a fire slash, and just get like 2 squishies and hopefully
Crouch fire strike, bam.
Yeah, it's great, man. But yeah, Reinhardt's my number 1 honorable. Probably be on top 5 eventually. When I can get a gold gun, maybe at the end of the season, maybe next. It's gonna be his hammer, probably for sure. Either him or May, so we'll see. And Zach, we're gonna bring it to you for your honorable mentions.
I thought I'd spread the love a little bit, so I have Ana as one of them. I really like Ana. Her skill ceiling is really high, and you can really do a lot with her as well, like both damage wise and health wise. I think Reinhardt's just like a cool tank overall. I think he's probably the most tank that feels like a tank, if that makes sense. And then just the classic soldier. Shout out to Soldier 76 for being the easiest character to pick up in so many people's just like intro into Overwatch.
He is the tutorial
Closest
hero.
What'd you say, Colin?
Closest to a Call of Duty player.
Oh yes, of course. It's everyone's like first hero,
Yeah, pretty much.
And Colin, who are your honorables?
So I kind of went the same way as Greg. I did honorables and dishonorables whenever he brought it up because I immediately thought pretty much the same as him. My honorables will be Sombra, because honestly, having EMP, you just EMP somebody, or well, not somebody, you EMP the enemy team, and you re-tempo the fight. So you start to lose the fight, they use some cooldowns, you give it like a second or two, you EMP. You probably won that fight unless your team is complete garbage, which has happened a few times in the low ranks. Torbjorn, because he's just a meme now. He had some good reworks. His armor packs used to be really fun, but
Come and get your armor.
yeah, I think they should do something like that again with somebody.
Yeah, it's a cool concept.
And then I do like
worked on.
Ash. I think Ash is McCree with just a different play style. You can still do all the same things McCree does, just slightly differently to do different things. But my dishonorables, these are the ones that I really like. I can't stand because it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's in this order specifically. It's Genji, Bastion, Mercy. Um, Genji, I don't want to rain on Zach's parade because I know he really likes Genji, but at this point in time, Genji's just a really bad hero. He has the lowest DPS to effectiveness, I would say, because Mei has the lowest DPS as a damage dealer, but she can um freeze people and she has a wall, and then she can also completely trap people places and do major things with her ice, where Genji requires you to use you have to use Swift Strike, and then you probably have to use Deflect. You also like deal significantly less damage, so you're typically waiting for people on your team to already almost kill people. And then Dragon Blade, it doesn't really do anything unless you get nanoed. Um, and having to use nano to make an ultimate effective right now, I can't get behind it. I don't like it. Having to use two ultimates to get some kills just doesn't make any sense to me. I like ultimates that can do things on their own, and that's why Genji hasn't been played. Is he does significantly low damage, and he requires a bunch of cooldowns to do it. So I just get frustrated at low elos when people play Genji, just because typically they're bad, and then periodically you have people who play him right, or you have the Smurfs like me and Greg have encountered a few times where they swift strike three people real quickly without even like no thought went through their head. They just did it like it was muscle memory, and it's like, oh, you're clearly a Smurf just having good time.
Kind of how I just play Genji.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got Bastion. It's upsetting how effective Bastion is at low ranks because he's absolute garbage. Um, Having to completely stop yourself from moving, it sucks. Like it sure, yes, it for some reason works at low elos because people like don't understand that Hanzo and Ana exist in the game. Um because Hanzo is like a extreme hard counter to Bastion. Echo is an extreme counter. I mean, Hanzo is probably like the hardest counter to Bastion. Then you have Echo, who just like is a great counter, and Ana is another great counter because if you sleep, you take him out of the fight for a little bit, then you toss a nade his way, can't heal, and you kill him. It is so easy to dispatch Bastion, but for some reason he works in low elos, and it's so frustrating. Um, and then my last one is Mercy. I didn't really have a whole lot of hate for Mercy until very recently, whenever they started like changing things about her and stuff. Um, she just isn't good anymore unless you are a higher skill ceiling player. Um, because low elos, they don't understand what her purpose is. Typically they think they're a main healer because that's kind of how they think of Mercy. They're like, "Oh, I can just like heal people." Mercy is not a main healer, sorry to break it to you all. Mercy is very much you heal the squishies. That's what you do. I hate when you have Mercy's pocket tanks. Um the only time that I'm accepting of it is whenever you have that attack Moira and you kind of just have to, or like another main healer support character that isn't healing as much as they're dealing damage because they um flex queued, and that's just annoying. But her blaster does more damage per second than Amplify on every single character except Roadhog. By well, not even. It still does more than Roadhog by 1 damage per second. And then Storm Arrow from Hanzo. So if you do the burst damage with Hanzo, it is totally worth boosting Storm Arrow on Hanzo. And it's worth boosting Bastion. The only problem is Bastion uses all of your cooldowns, which is only 1 cooldown really. And it's a big cooldown that you should probably just use on somebody else and, have him pick somebody else. Other than that, I mean, slight bursts, it's worth doing Zenyatta alternate fire, Roadhog hook combo, just damage boosting Hanzo, damage boosting Torbjorn shotgun is pretty decent if you need to like do extra damage real quick. Reaper, Junkrat, and Pharah, they're kind of like, Pharah is almost unplayable without Mercy, so it really sucks whenever a support has to pocket one person, which is why I just don't like her. And most people still only heal instead of damage boosting is whenever they're doing Pharah. Some other ones consist of Reinhardt, Genji, Ashe, Mei, alternate fire, McCree, and surprisingly, Ana. All of these things you can damage boost for burst damage. So you need to be able to have the high skill understanding of what bursting is in the game, when it's going to be effective, when it's not going to be effective. And I can guarantee you that everybody that is mid diamond and below just does not have that, which is why I get furious when I see people play Mercy, because all they do is play her like she only has healing and nothing else. And those are my dishonorable mentions.
All right. Well, with that is going to end this episode of the Top 5 podcast. So thank you to everyone who listened or watched this video on YouTube. And if you enjoyed this video and episode of the podcast, be sure to leave a like, rating, and subscribe on YouTube if you are on that platform. If you are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other streaming platform, be sure to follow us and leave us a DM on Instagram if you can find our socials, because we like to hide that from you. And also, I want to give one big old thanks to my buddy, Greg Keener. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Greggy.
Yeah, that
Thank
boy
you for having
Greggy.
me.
Yeah, of course. Always a pleasure. We'll have you around again another time. Maybe around, something around cooking. So now you're a big cook.
Oh,
chef
I'm
guy.
down for that.
Absolutely.
Chef Greggy.
Chef Greggy in the house.
Yes, sir.
But thank you again to Greggy and also to the boys for joining us on another episode of Top 5. And thank you all one last time for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.